Blessings, Jalan Pon. Today we've come together for the offering of the Royal Kathina Robe in the annual Kathina Ceremony of this monastery, Buddha Bodhivana Monastery. And we're very grateful to have many visiting senior monks with us, Lumpur Damrong and Lumpur Sawang from Thailand, and many others from around Australia. And also we have Ambassador Achari representing the Thai Embassy in Canberra. So it's an annual event generally. As you know, the Buddha allowed for a Kathina robe to be offered if 5 monks or more spend the rains retreat together. So it's considered a very rare and special kind of offering. If only 1 or 2 monks live together, then there won't be a Kathina ceremony. And you can only hold the Kathina ceremony in 1 month, the 1 month period after the end of the rains. So it's not all year round. And you can only complete a Kathina ceremony if you offer robes or cloth to make robes. That's the purpose of it. So it's quite a limited kind of dana offering, and a very special one. And it won't actually be completed until the monks take away one of these pieces of cloth and cut it, measure it, sew it, and dye it, and then offer it in the midst of the Sangha, and that has to be done within 1 day, today. And as we have done on some other occasions, today's robe cloth will be hand sewn, which means everyone has to join in, because sewing by hand, if any of you are eager sewers, takes a while. Some monks can sew quite fast by hand. Some take shortcuts and they do very long stitches to cover the ground quickly. Nevertheless, it takes everybody to help out to get it done, maybe by, if we're lucky, by 7 or 8 p.m. tonight, and then we'll have a ceremony to offer the cloth. We call that spreading the Kathina, and it's only then that the Kathina is really finished properly. So it's the Buddha's intention to get all the monks to work together to make this ceremony and this part of our training complete and successful, and to allow you to gain the full, you might say, the full good karma, the full merit of your robe offering today. And of course, it's also a time for you yourselves, the lay community, to come together and basically help out by bringing cloth, making cloth offerings. As you can see, many different kinds of cloth have been offered. And to help the monastery in general offer other donations. It's a time when people offer funds to build and maintain the monastery. It's a day when people offer much food. So I think you've all eaten probably too much already. So lots of food has been offered, and lots of volunteers have helped in many, many different ways. And that's the purpose of a monastery. The Kathina kind of signifies the purpose of a Buddhist monastery, which is a place to get people to do good on every level. The level of generosity, we say dana or sharing. The level of sila, it's a place to practice living and being in a moral way. There was a couple coming into the hall earlier, and the husband from Australia was complaining to his wife, "Why can't I swear?" It's because this is a monastery. You don't swear in a monastery. You practice being mindful of your speech. That's called sila. That's how we practice. We train to watch our speech, to be tolerant and kind of each other. And it's also a place of meditation. That's why we're in the forest. Some people in the city say, "Why are you so far out of town, way out here in the forest?" Because it's peaceful. And we're here to meditate, to train our minds to give up greed, anger and delusion, or what we call danha, kilesa, and upadana, attachment. And the peace and quiet of the forest, even though it can be quite difficult living in the forest, is actually very conducive to the practice of meditation. It's peaceful. And even though you may have to put up with some things, the heat, the cold, the flies, some things, you gain a lot more. And as you gain peace of mind and some understanding from that. And that's the purpose of it. We're training our mind, training our heart to give up the causes of suffering, greed, anger and delusion. So a monastery is a place for doing that. And not just once, not just today, but tomorrow and the next day, over and over again. And when myself and the other monks are long gone, and you're long gone, then it may be our children, grandchildren, future generations doing it as well. So a monastery is a place for long-term goodness or benefit. You'll hear that when the Kathina offering is recited or the Sanghadana offering is recited, we always say for our long-term welfare and happiness. Maybe we'll be here again in a future life, who knows? If you haven't reached Nibbana at the end of this life, your practice will have to continue at some point in the future. So maybe a wise attitude, even though you may not yet believe in afterlife and being reborn, reincarnated, I wouldn't completely dismiss it either, because one of the Buddha's teachings is that karma doesn't just ripen this life, it ripens in your next life as well. So for example, making the very powerful good karma of offering cloth to support monks, offering food to support monks, will follow you like a good friend, helping you, supporting you into your future life. And a monastery is a place for doing that, for making good karma over and over again, making it very strong, doing it often. This will help your own mind to grow, to be more peaceful and happy, and also it will help you make good karma for the future. There's one story that's often quoted on Kathina ceremonies like this, the story of Venerable Maha Kassapa, who was one of the arahants in the time of the Buddha, considered a very great, wise, enlightened monk. And in a previous lifetime, they say he was a Brahmin, living with his wife and really poor, living in northern India, really poor, so poor they had no money and they just had one piece of cloth between them. So they could never go out of the house together in that life because it would be too embarrassing to go out naked. So they would share this piece of cloth, and when it was time to go out for work or shopping or any event, go to the temple or go to meet the Buddha, they would choose who would go and they would share this one piece of cloth. The one who was chosen to go would go with the cloth and the other would stay at home. So they lived with great difficulty. That's how it is when you're poor. You maybe only have one piece of cloth between the two of you. But they had great faith in the Buddha, and they wanted to practice, and they had great sense of generosity, and because they had faith, they wanted to support the Sangha. So as the story goes, they agreed one day, the Brahmin, he went out to meet the Buddha and make offerings, listen to the Dhamma, and he always, on many occasions, he'd had this battle in his mind. I want to make some good karma, I want to make some dana, barami, I want to offer something, but he's got no money, what can I offer? The only thing that worth anything was this piece of cloth that he'd wear around him just to make himself presentable in public. But of course, if he gave that away, he'd have nothing, literally nothing, he'd be naked. So he'd always have this battle in his mind, should I give it or not? Should I give it or not? And of course, if that's the last thing you've got, it's a genuine battle. It's not like nowadays we're wealthy enough, luckily, that's our good karma as well, but we're wealthy enough we can buy cloth, give cloth away, and we've still got clothes to wear. But in that story and in that time, and still in some parts of the world nowadays, there are people without much money or no money. So this Brahmin had no other wealth other than this one piece of cloth. And the story goes that finally one day he's in front of the Buddha. He sees other people offering their cloth, and he thinks, I want to do that. I want to get that same happiness of offering cloth. So he has his little mental battle, and then he finally takes off his piece of cloth, folds it up and offers it to the Buddha. And then he shouts, victory. He said, oh, victory, because he's had a victory over his own mind, his own attachment. He finally managed to do a dana offering, even though it meant he gave the last thing he had, literally the last piece of cloth off his back. And the story goes that the king was also visiting the Buddha and heard that cry of victory. So he asked his assistant, he says, why is he saying victory? What happened? You usually use that word when you win a battle in war. You know, he's a king, he's got an army. He said, what, is there a war? Is there a battle? And the assistant goes and checks, said, no, it's this Brahmin. He's had a victory over his own attachment. He wanted to make an offering, but he couldn't for many days because he only had this one piece of cloth, but finally he relinquished it and offered it to the Buddha. So that's what we call the greatest victory. This is not a victory over other people, it's not a battle against other people, it's a victory over our own kilesa, our own attachment. And that's Maha Kassapa in that lifetime, the Brahmin, and the happy ending to the story is that the king was so impressed. He said, oh, this Brahmin, he's got real faith. He gave the last thing he had to the Buddha to support the Buddha and the monks. So he sent his people to give 2 pieces of cloth back to the Brahmin and his wife so they wouldn't be naked. And straight away they offered them to the Buddha. So then he sent 8 pieces of cloth. Straight away those were offered. He got up to 32 pieces of cloth. Each time his people went and offered cloth to the Brahmin and his wife, they just said, we'll give it to the Buddha. And they kept giving it to offer to the Buddha because they were so happy, so joyous to offer robes to support the Buddha and the monks. So the king kind of got more and more inspired. So he just said, I'm going to support them for life. This couple there, faith is so strong, I'm just going to keep supporting them. So they never had to go without cloth for clothing, without food, without any of the necessities of life. He said, I'll just look after them and make sure they're okay. So this is why we offer. Ultimately, it's not for anything external. It's for our own benefit, to remove our own attachment, our own stinginess, our own selfishness. That's why we do it. And that's what a monastery is for. It's a place where you come to listen to the Dhamma, practice the Dhamma on every level. The level of dana, sila, bhavana, meditation. So on behalf of the monks who have resided here over the last year, myself as the senior monk, I'll be giving a blessing in a moment to you all in appreciation of your support and your little victories. Every time you offer food or robes or any other kind of help, that's you've made a victory over your own attachment in that moment. Whether it's a small thing, a big thing, it doesn't matter. The important thing is your mind. And we'll give a blessing in appreciation of that, all your victories, all your effort, all your practice that you've done this year and in the past. May it be a cause for your own happiness now and in the future, all the way to Nibbana. And they say, especially a Kathina robe, it's such a rare kind of offering, it will follow you. You will have very good supportive conditions this life and then in your future lives until you reach full enlightenment. It's not a small thing. So I will invite Lumpur Damrong to lead the blessing. He's come all the way from Thailand and we're very grateful for his presence. He's been a monk for 58 years, if I remember correctly, ordained with Lumpur Cha. So he's lived with Lumpur Cha for many years before I was ever there. So we're very grateful to have him. So I will invite him to lead the blessing, and while we give the blessing, you can share the merit, dedicate your merit that you made today by offering robes or food or any other help that you've offered. May it be a cause for your progress, happiness, success in the Dhamma practice. May you be free from obstacles. May you be free from illness, free from danger, free from worries. And may you all attain Nibbana.